Good evening, and welcome to the Positional Sports Talk Show Post, live streaming on Facebook Live and from our Positions on Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. We are a sports talk show made for the fans, from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports. My name is Big Reg. I'm joined this evening by my partners in crime. We got J3 in the building. How you doing, J3?
What's up? Glad to be here. Well, glad to be back.
We also got Professor J in the building. How you feeling, Professor J?
Y'all already know. Praise the Lord. Let's kick it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Also got Johnny in the building. How you feeling, Johnny?
Feeling pretty good. Feeling excited. Blessed to be here. Let's go.
We got Ed in the building. What's going on, Ed?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well.
And this evening, special guest coming to us live from Cali. We got the 7-foot poet in the house. What's going on, 7-foot poet?
What's up, fellas? Good to be here. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Well, since you're new to the show, can you tell the folks a little bit about yourself, whatever you feel like sharing this evening? Let them know where the 7-foot poet come from or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I'm on the west side now. Shout out all talented people. Originally out in D.C., I want to give a shout out to all my friends on U Street. U Street, well, they done gentrified that. But back in the day,
True.
U Street, we used to run around down there hitting all the spoken word spots and doing shows at universities and stuff like that. And shout out to all my people back in DC, Tiffany, Nat Law, Patrick, all y'all, all the spoken word crew out there in DC. Just send a shout out to all them old heads now. Freestyle,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, again, we're glad to have you, partner. Now, this evening, to start off, I'd just like to say, last week was the first time in 9 months that we did not come to you live. Since we started this show, we've been here every Tuesday, 7 p.m., faithfully, whether one of us had to miss the show because we were out. But last week, after much discussion and some of the heated debate, even amongst us, we decided to take the week off in observance of the Blackout Tuesday last week and decided that, we was going to support the cause because of everything that's going on in the nation right now. And I tell you, it wasn't an easy decision. We went back and forth. There was a couple of us that wanted to do the show and thought that we should come to you and share what we needed to share because everything was hot and happening right then. But we decided to go ahead and support. So we just like to say thank y'all for, sticking with us, understanding why we decided to not be on last week. And we're going to bring you a hot live show this evening. Of course, we got to talk about the George Floyd incident, how it's affecting not only sports, but the nation at large. After that, we're going to discuss sports leagues' plans to reopen, plus some other topics that may have caught our attention. And of course, our final post of the evening. So we appreciate you again tuning back in. Sit back, relax, and enjoy Post on the Positions on Sports Talk Show channel, streaming to you live via Facebook. So Jamani,
What's
I know
up, Big
you.
Ray?
What's going on, brother? Last week when we were debating back and forth, whether we should do the show, you had some strong opinions on that we should do the show, and I just like for you to share that with everybody, if you don't mind.
Yeah, you would come to me first. Well, I'm just I'm just of the opinion that no matter what, we can both serve what folks wanted as far as solidarity as well as lend our voice, because I felt like that, none of the other outlets were canceling shows or not saying what they needed to in support of the movement, in support of what was going on. So I just felt like we needed to really keep our voice charged and keeping it out there, because really, if you think about it, for all the people that don't have a platform and they can't speak, we can serve that particular area for them to have a voice out there. I mean, I just felt like we should have kept it going and kind of just talking about what was happening in real time and just giving our passions towards what was going on. Somebody need to go on mute, turn it down.
Okay. And yeah, I definitely understood that opinion, appreciate that opinion. Again, we decided at the end of the day that we were going to, as a group, support the cause. So again, we went black. But let's talk about the reason that the cause even came up. This is only the second show since we've been doing this, starting our 10th month, that I really wasn't looking forward to doing the show. The first time was Kobe's death, and the second time was dealing with the George Floyd. And I mean, it's a little personal to me. First and foremost, we share the same first name.
Mhm.
You add on to that, his youngest daughter has the same name as my daughter. So, I mean, that kind of crazy to have two Giannas impacted so greatly within a 3-month period. And up until you rarely heard that name for my daughter. So I'll let y'all know how I felt. After viewing the video live, I was sick. I was sick into my stomach.
Mm.
And then I got angry. And I'm still angry.
Mm-hmm. We are too.
Which is understandable.
Frustrated.
Yeah, I don't even think frustrated can. The old adage, sick and tired of being sick and tired, I'm way past that. I'm just mad. And to deal with something like that and then have to try to go into work or go online to work and deal with folks and they tiptoeing around you. It's just been a real interesting two weeks for me. So I mean, that's my piece on the actual incident. I mean, does anybody have anything they want to share about the actual incident before we get on to how it's affecting the communities and things of that sort?
I did want to ask you a question, Big Reg, about your experience. Now that you're going back to work and you find yourself around individuals of a different skin tone, just to be blunt, have you felt that the interactions have been any different than usual? I mean, I'm pretty sure there are, but how have the conversations gone? Have you been able to speak with anyone? Has anybody said something to you? Because I know quite a few individuals, friends of mine, felt like certain individuals were coming to them kind of expressing their upset and disgust with the situation. And then some of them had individuals approach them and kind of had their nose in the air like that's kind of what you get, or your protest won't go far. So I just wanted to know what your experience was.
Well, the good thing is I don't have to go in the building. So we are still working remotely. But for anybody that works for any type of large business, a large corporation, or anybody you have relationships, I'm sure y'all have gotten emails and emails talking about their stance on the situation, which is interesting to me. They didn't have a stance on the situation all these months and years and decades, but now they have a stance on the situation. But yeah, people been tiptoeing around it, even on webcams and video conference calls, trying to see how people are feeling.
And for me, I was just as frustrated, not only with the George Floyd situation, but we had just kind of not necessarily got over, but we were coming around the corner with the Ahmaud Arbery situation, where he
Yeah.
was hunted down not by police officers, but by civilians within the community, fellow neighbors of his. The Breonna Taylor situation, in which the cops were serving a no-knock warrant and went into the wrong home and killed an innocent woman. Not only killed the innocent woman, but they then lock up the husband for being in defense of her. So for me, this has been it's been a tough month of trying to find answers, and you're looking through history and you just haven't got them yet. So you're wondering, what can I do this time around to get some of the respect that any man and woman and child that walks to the face of the earth actually deserves?
Wow. I mean, if we're going on feelings, of course, this is something that I remember as a young student at Morehouse about 20 years ago when we had the first Million Man March. And just growing up as a student of African American and African history and seeing the images from the civil rights movement, this was something that I was proud to be a part. And especially going to a historically Black college, it was something that I took a lot of pride in. And then you fast forward to the last 6 or 7 years, and we're seeing these same images over and over again, where when I lived down in the South, fortunate for me, I didn't have to deal with a whole lot of racism. But now that I'm back up north and back home, and I'm seeing the images of our Black brothers and sisters being murdered and killed in the streets, yeah, it makes me angry. It makes me want to do what I've been doing and even more. That's why I've always been an advocate for voting. I've always been an advocate for marching. I've always been an advocate for peaceful protest. And then if you have to, you defend yourself the way that you need to in order to stay alive. But when you see things like that, and then you couple it with watching the movie Just Mercy this weekend with me and my wife watching it, those feelings get stirred up all over again, and you just want to really do something about the things that are going, and you want to hold people accountable.
I agree.
Can I jump in here, Big Red?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I think that a couple of things. First, it's important that we try to avoid, call it straight and try to avoid euphemisms. There's no George Floyd situation. There was the murder of George Floyd by 3 police officers and 1 police officer watching out. There was the murder of Breonna Taylor. There was the murder, well, I guess it was more than 3 police officers with Breonna Taylor. There was the murder of Ahmaud Arbery by civilians, white men, who hunted him down like my brother Johnny over there said. Hunted him down like an animal. And he was unarmed, and I'm sure he did his best to defend himself. At least I hope he did. And, there's the heartbreaking when you watch the George Floyd murder and you hear his words. The word, I don't even want to repeat it because it was so malicious. It was depraved heart murder, staring into this camera while the guy had his knee on his neck. You should feel angry. Every human being with a heart and a mind and 2 eyes to see it should feel angry at that. And it's a stark reminder. It shattered the illusion that somehow this was a post-racial America. It shattered the illusion that just because we're in Prince George's County in a big house, everything is okay. It's not okay. The fact that we can list even Freddie Gray, Eric Gardner, Amadou Diallo. I'm not even here. There was a brother in Ohio, John, I'm blanking on his last name, Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin. This is off the top of my head. I ain't do no research. I'm just throwing these out. And there's more, many, many more. That's the problem. Professor Jay was just saying that he's an advocate of peaceful protest. So I have no doubt that he was right there with Colin Kaepernick. You can't get no more peaceful than sitting down. That was what you got. Peaceful protest was, I'm going to sit down and just protest because it was troubling Colin Kaepernick. It was troubling. It was on his heart. He's like, I'm gonna sit down. I can't stand for this flag anymore. I'm gonna sit down because of the injustice of police murdering black and brown men, women, and black and brown children. Tamir Rice was a child. Trayvon Martin was a child. Let's be real clear about that. And he sat down peacefully in protest. And then a United States Marine, a former Marine, I think, I'm not sure if he's a Marine or former Marine, white guy, walks over to Colin Kaepernick, says, you still disrespecting the flag like that. And Colin Kaepernick says, I don't want my message to get distorted. So what do you think I should do? And the white guy said, kneel. He said, kneel so that you respect the flag and your protest can be heard. And Colin Kaepernick, again, Professor J, peacefully did that. So and Colin Kaepernick was trying to help George Floyd. He didn't even know George Floyd. Colin Kaepernick was trying to help Big Red, J3, Johnny, Ed, Professor J, me. He was trying to help us because the police are out profiling us, harming us and our families and loved ones. And they vilified Colin Kaepernick, went after him. So we can be clear that peaceful protest does not work. The George Floyd murder sparked spontaneous rebellions across the globe. And you see, that got their attention. That got action. That's getting changed. Minneapolis is defunding their police department and looking at a safer way to provide public safety. So, I mean, you better stop me because I'm getting ready to get on a roll, Big Red. I want to come back to the show sometime, man.
So real quick, just imagine, because of technology today, if we didn't have it and where we would be at. We'd still be right back 20, 30 years ago because of the fact that somebody actually recorded it. If there was no video, we would not be going through what we're going through right now because we still will be profiled as a 7-foot poet said, and nothing would be happening. So thank God somebody actually recorded Amari Brown running down the street. Thank God somebody recorded George Floyd getting a knee in his head, because if not, it still would be going on today.
And because of the video, I can't get the image of Emmett Till out of my head because every one of these videos remind me of what happened to him.
I think I'm sorry, Ed, real quick, and then I'll let you go, Ed. I think two things happen. Cell phone cameras and videos are huge, but we've had videos before. The pandemic, and you had the majority of the country home still, and they couldn't get away from it no matter where they turned. And they were forced to sit there for 9 minutes and see what happened. I think that was a huge, huge impact on it. If we weren't in this pandemic, I'm not sure we would have had the same response. But my bad, Ed, I cut you off. Come on, Ed.
No, but I'm glad you said what you said. And I would like to add to what you just said, Big Reg, is that I think within the 3-month period, we had 3 tragedies. We had the Louisville incident with Miss Taylor. We had the Aubrey incident in Georgia, and I guess that was in February. And then we had this most recent incident in Minneapolis with Mr. Floyd. But as far as I'm concerned, when I saw the most recent incident in Minneapolis, I can't say that. Well, first of all, I wasn't surprised. Was I angry? I was angry, but only to a point where every time I hear of an incident involving police or mistreatment of people of color, it affects me in a certain type of way. One of the things that I'm kind of leery on, or I guess I'm numb or sick of it. I hate when you hear the narrative that it takes time. I'm gonna throw some buzzwords out that I'm sure everyone on listening to us and everyone here right now has heard. So again, it takes time. Change doesn't happen overnight. uncomfortable conversations, and the list can go on and on. But I don't understand what people consider time. Because if you go back 401 years from today, you arrive in Virginia in 1619, and that is the exact same year the first slave stepped foot on this land we call America. If you go back 155 years, you have the end of the Civil War, 1865. If you go back 56 years or so, you'll come to the Civil Rights Act, which ironically should have been corrected in 1865 with the 13th Amendment that effectively abolished slavery, followed by 1866, where you had the 14th Amendment, which established citizenship. And then a few years later after that, in 1869, it was the Voting Amendment. So we've had time. It's not like, it's not like we've been sitting here, and 2 years ago, and now we want everything that should be rightfully ours. We've waited. We've had time. But the system is not designed for us. It's not designed with our rights in mind. Because, first of all, in order to give someone rights, or in order for someone to consider us human, they have to consider us equal. And I have yet to see that. So again, this difficult conversation, good. I'm glad that people are protesting. I hope it's not just the flavor of the month. I hope that some real change can come before it. I hope that people that have platforms and people that don't have platforms could figure out a way to affect change. And I think the most important thing that I felt when I saw Mr. Floyd being choked to death by the cop while he casually had his hands in his pocket and looking into the camera, I think that he did what he did. I think them 3 men in Georgia did what they did. And I think countless other men and women have done what they've done to Black folk because they can. Because if you had a reversal was a reversal, and the reason you don't see other people suffering or dying at the hands of cops, because they won't tolerate it. That's it. They won't tolerate it. And although we're 12% of this population in America, we do have our ways, and there are ways, I should say, and we should figure out exactly how we should best exercise those ways, because enough is enough.
So Ed, you brought a very good point. You brought up a very good point. And the first term that comes to my mind is white privilege. And I'm gonna give you an example of that. And it's with Miss Cooper up in Central Park. When you had a Black man sitting there just bird watching, and this lady tried to call the cops because this guy literally said, "You need to put a leash on your dog." And she said, "I'm gonna call the cops if you don't leave me alone." But yet he's the one that's in the right. He's the one trying to abide by the rules, trying to get her to abide by the rules. She calls the cops. White privilege.
But you know what, J3, that right there, if it wasn't for the fact that Mr. Floyd and countless others, and I'm sorry if that I can't recall everyone that has fallen victim to police brutality or some other hate crime, that
Don't
right there is
not having a photograph, a super memory. The list is too long and tragic for you to remember them all.
right.
Yeah.
That right there is a problem, because in her mind, she knew what the reaction would be. That is a deep problem, and that was in the North. That was in New York City, one of the most sophisticated, so to speak, cities in the world. And she, in her mind, she knew exactly what she needed to do to get what she wanted. That's a problem, and you can't erase that. You can't erase that in a year. This has been 400 years in the making.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have called her Miss Cooper. I should have just called her Karen.
Oh, well.
So
if you don't get that joke, something wrong.
I get it.
I just want to jump in and say real quick that I got a different reason as to, I think that y'all had some excellent points, and Big Reg was talking about the reason it's happening because of the pandemic, and others are saying the reason it happened because it was on film. And I was glad. I had some joy that it happened, because what I'm saying is, let me be real clear. I'm had some joy that the people spontaneously rose up in protest against the murder of innocent Black people. You're supposed to rise up when your people are being murdered. You're supposed to rise up when somebody kills your daughter, your sister, your child. You're supposed to rise. Somebody kills your brother. And that was the question was what took so not what took so long, but it should happen sooner, because Ed was saying that they do it because they can. I'm paraphrasing what you said, Ed. But we can stop them. They do it because they can, and they're gonna stop when we stop them, when they can no longer do it.
But
and
you know what?
It's our responsibility. I'm gonna let you jump in there. And I was just saying, it's our responsibility to rise up. And we had enough. Too many of our people have been murdered. And if there was no film and we just got the word from a phone call, people would have been upset. And if it wasn't a pandemic, you got the call at work. People at work would have been upset. Not again. This is enough is enough. Sick and tired, as y'all was saying. In this society, we reach breaking points, and that's why you have these rebellions periodically over time. And we gotta develop the power to stop the murder of innocent people.
But you know what kills me, 7 Foot Poet, is that when you mentioned spontaneous rebellion, the media and all the news feeds and anything you can read or what have you, it was like they were trying to paint these rebellion, these protests, and like hooligans, or they were destroying people's property, or they were out of control, or whatever. Thugs, I'm sorry, whatever other narrative you might want to have. But if if any of these people that was doing the complaining really sat down and gave a true history lesson of this country, then rebellion, looting, gone against authority. They've been. Where do you think it originated? Where do you think this is learned behavior? Wow. It's nothing new. It's absolutely nothing new. I mean, okay, let's just keep it real.
Yeah, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving.
One thing that was real.
And quite often in that scenario, a lot of the individuals that are peacefully protesting, you'll have a good amount of individuals as well who are there to start trouble. Everybody's not up on social issues or out to do the right thing. And unfortunately, there's always they always zoom in on the people that are there to do wrong. They made you think that it was all of us cracking windows, doing this, that, and the third. Then it took for people who were actually on the field in these cities, right there on the ground, to take pictures or show you live film of this white lady throwing a brick in the window and then writing
Speak on it.
They don't want to show the other side. Now, I understand their frustration, but that's the reality of it. They're never going to tell the true story. And it's heartbreaking. It's disgusting.
Were any of you surprised, like I was, that not only did things start happening here, but you're seeing protests around the world? I have never seen anything like that. You got protests in Germany, New Zealand. Of course, you got England, France, and all that, but Germany?
That's because, Reg, we're getting killed all around the world. It's just not here. And as 7 Foot Poet said, enough is enough. People have had enough. They're taking reaction and they're protesting all around the world because they just had enough.
I hear you. I hear you.
And
So,
usually,
Ed, you
Big
brought up
Reg,
platforms. Let's look at
sorry.
some of the ways people are using their platforms to further this cause. And I think one of the biggest people out there that has kind of made it his new mission. Oh wow, I just drew a blank. Mr. Floyd's twin,
Oh, you talking about Steven Jackson?
Steven
Stephen
Jackson.
Jackson.
Steven Jackson.
I mean,
He
considering
been called into action.
and he's taking that mantle and he's running with it hard. He's running with
Yes,
it
he
hard.
is.
I mean,
Yes,
I've been so impressed by not only how he stepped up for the family, but that he's been on every show. If you want him to talk about it, he shows up. He's speaking his truth. He's doing his thing. And let's not forget, the image that they tried to put on Steven Jackson after the Malice in the
Oh.
Palace and all
They
that
tried to
thing.
call him a
It's-
thug.
Exactly. Now you see this strong black man stepping up for his family member who got wrongfully murdered and doing this thing. And then you got all the athletes across the country. So I don't want to steal anybody's thunders, but I mean, how do y'all feel that people are using their platforms today to further this cause?
I mean, I certainly appreciate Steven Jackson being one of the first to grab that mantle and like rip it so he can go with it and run with it. The thing that resonated with me, and I couldn't blame him, but when he was on CNN last week and Cuomo asked him, what would he want to say to the officer that had his knee on the neck of George Floyd? And he was like, all I need is 30 minutes in a room alone with him. And he asked him, well, what would you say to him? He was like, it's not much I would be saying. But just like he took the life of my brother, I'm gonna take the answers from him that I think that I deserve as to why he took his life. And then of course Chris tried to polish it up and say, well, I know people tried to paint you with this image. He was like, well, look, Chris, you asked me what would I do, what would I want? And I know I'm not going to get that 30 minutes, but I'm expressing my right to be angry that he took the life of somebody that I hold near and dear to me. So if you want me to say what I would do, that's what I would do. But let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm giving a voice because his is gone. I'm making sure his children are taken care of. I'm making sure that people out here are protesting for the right things. I'm making sure that the greater majority can't sweep this under the rug like they've done everything else. And I resonated with that because we all feel that frustration. We all feel that hurt. We all feel that pain. We're fed up with the way things are going. And if the politicians that we put in office, air quotes, don't do what we want them to do, then we have to start doing things where we give our voice to things and start doing it by, I dare to say it, by force. And there's a lot of ways you can interpret that, but we can't be scared to use more than our voices to make sure that we can be heard, because there's enough of us that are willing to do the right thing to make sure that stuff gets put in place for us to be protected across this country.
Get out and vote.
As far as the platform, I'm just forgive me, but I'm a little leery because where was all this support for Cap? Like there was athletes, there were athletes that were supporting him, but where were all these people speaking up today, yesterday, and for now 2 weeks or so? When Cap was out there on that island by himself, where were they at? They offered him no support that I saw. Maybe you guys seen something that I didn't see. But as far as like, where were these big time athletes, chiming in saying, "Hey, man, I'm with you, Cap." They're like I said.
Agree with you.
Where is it safe? Is it safe now? Is it?
Hey, let me jump in real quick. Y'all gonna accuse me of West Coast bias, but let me just point out, Marshawn Lynch was right there with Cap. Marshawn supported him. Kenny Brett supported him. Eric Reed Isn't it Eric Reed, the safety?
Yeah.
Eric Reed?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's important because you raised a real big point that they were that there were players who supported them, and it does raise the question. We know Malcolm Jenkins, we know Anquan Bolden, we know Drew Brees, and we know what's that white quarterback in New England Patriots? What's his name? Oh no, he got traded. Tom Brady. We know what they was doing or not doing, and and Ed, you was even going there to the bigger point, which is really that football players have this reputation, athletes in general, big, strong, brave, all this stuff. But now it's safe. Now Jerry Jones said you can go tap dance, and they running out to make their statements now that Jerry Jones gave him permission. But when Jerry Jones said no, don't do it.
Right.
And the rest of the owners said don't do it. And Colin Kaepernick was out there on an island or almost an island. And I think that's where you're going with it. And for me, it makes sense. If Michael Jordan want to give $100 million, or his brand, let me be clear, wants to give $100 million towards racial equity, or if Anquan Bolden wants to do some good work, or whoever the case may be, this is an opportunity for him to do it. But you gotta, like Ed is saying, you got a reason to be suspect because y'all wasn't doing it then. We're gonna watch and see if you really are doing it now. And that's what brings us to one of the real culprits in here, the NFL itself and their owners, and that apology that they apparently said they put out here. They call
the NFL didn't apologize.
Right.
The owners didn't apologize. Roger Goodell and the league apologized. We haven't heard one owner yet.
And you're not gonna hear.
But Big Reg, you said the NFL and Roger Goodell, that little whack statement that he said. He says and I'm paraphrasing because I looked at it long enough to hear. He said something to the effect that Black Lives Matter. Okay, well, Black Lives Matter. Why weren't you fully behind Colin Kaepernick when he was taking his knee? He never made it about the military. He never made it about the military. He never said one thing about the military. He never said, "Oh, I'm protesting the military, people fighting." Never said that. He said he never said, "Oh, I hate the flag, I want to burn it." Never said that. You see, so
it was a vet that told him to take a knee.
So what I'm saying is that any statement that the NFL has put out or will put out in the future, including all these teams, well, not all of them, but a lot of these teams came out with statements, and this is across leagues, not just the NFL. And I haven't seen Cap's name mentioned one time.
Right.
They're apologizing they're apologizing to black folk left and right. Oh, we need to do better. We need to listen. Let's get to the table and discuss things. But I ain't heard Cap's name mentioned yet. Maybe he disappeared. Maybe he's not part of it.
He did. For me, this all falls hollow if they don't mention his name. So anything short of getting him involved in this movement is hollow as far as I'm concerned.
And he needs to be put back on a roster. They need to apologize to him and put him on a roster. He's good enough to be a quarterback in the NFL. It was never about that. It was always about punishment and sending a signal to the rest of us and the rest of the players, don't speak up. That's what it's always been about. And if they were sincere about it, their actions, not just their words, their actions in saying his name and putting him back on the roster will build some credibility for him. If not, you right to better, and question it.
Well, first of all, he really shouldn't have even mentioned the flag because he never served. I understand that he was trying to show honor to his grandparents, but as a soldier who was actually in the army, who actually went overseas and served overseas for this United States of America, that dude has no right to even comment about the flag because he doesn't even know what it represents. I'm a black man, and at the age of 18, really didn't know what the flag meant. If I look at it back then, I would have realized that the flag didn't represent me. You look at the colors, red, white, and blue. There is no brown. There is no black. There is no.
Joe?
I think his mic came out, fellas. Big Red,
We lost your audio, Joe.
Let's be clear about three quick points. Roger Goodell is an employee of the owners. They didn't say Kaepernick's name because they lost a lawsuit or settled a lawsuit because they thought they were going to lose a lawsuit with Cap. And if they bring up his name and admit it, the potential for him to go back into that lawsuit is out there. And the reason why other NFL players didn't stand up the first time.
Sorry, Big Reg. I'm sorry. Did you say I didn't hear about the lawsuit? They couldn't say his name because of the lawsuit? Because I don't think that's accurate.
Okay, you know better than me, but I've heard multiple people say that legally they don't want to open up any potential doors for further suits with Kaepernick.
No, that rings hollow because Kaepernick settled his lawsuit with the NFL. And as part of a settlement agreement, obviously it's confidential, but generally as part of settlement agreements like that, he would waive those rights to bring suits related to the incident. So that's just another smokescreen when people say the NFL couldn't mention his name or that they, couldn't apologize to him because of that. That's a smokescreen. Don't make that man.
Okay.
They ain't never even approached.
I appreciate the legal advice from the lawyer in the group. Appreciate that.
No problem, man.
So if any of y'all, should Cap even want to be back in the NFL?
No.
If he's smart, he wouldn't. I don't think so. He should stand his ground. Continue standing his ground.
He accepted.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one for me because, and this is why, and it really has to go with all of us, and and just when you look about conditioning, and I'm talking about social conditioning and control now.
Yes.
And all of us, for good or for worse, have been socially conditioned to do certain things. And one of the things that Cap has been socially conditioned to do is play football. And you got a short window in your life when you can do that physically. So I'm sure part of him wants to play because he practiced since the time he was 15 maybe, or even younger. And I totally get the principle that J3 is saying is like on principle, he shouldn't even go back to now. I hear that. I can see both sides of that,
Will he even get the choice?
Right. That's another question.
Right.
Well, I don't think he should go back because any team that gives him an opportunity 3 years later, 4 years later, it's going to be looked on as like, okay, well, why didn't you give him an opportunity when he was fresh? 3 or 4 years ago. In the meantime, you've employed quarterbacks that simply shouldn't be in the NFL. My team is guilty of it. I promise you. But it serves him. It doesn't serve him right now. Why should he be? Look, he's doing good work right now. Way more important than throwing a football or helping a team win a championship right now. He's on a different path right now. And I don't believe his purpose could be best served in football. I'm not him. I could be wrong, but I just don't see why should he assist. Because any team he goes to, it would be a boost, so to speak, in public relations. And again, he'll be the center of that team. He'll get questions upon questions upon questions upon questions. I just don't think the sincerity is there because if you couldn't sign him 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or even last year, why sign him now?
If he has a legitimate,
4 years, right?
If he has a legitimate choice, I would not begrudge him if he did choose to go back into the NFL. But I think he would be better served being the face of this movement and pushing it forward as far as it can go to change not just what's going on with players, but change what's going on in the front offices. We just talked about the Rooney Rule. There needs to be a face that pushes the change that we want in these areas so that we can go all the way to ownership, because this good old boy network needs to be broken down so that one day, and I'm talking about soon, we can have some black minority ownership.
Now,
minority, we need majority ownership.
There's an old ancient saying that goes something like, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, give a man a job and he'll work for you for the rest of his life. So I ain't interested in a job working for the NFL. We need to own the teams, own our own league. Okay? That's what Rooney Rule is too soft. In a moment like this, we got to push hard for the things that are right.
Don't get me into my HBCU discussion. Maybe that's next week.
But the point is, you still working for them, even if you're the GM or the head coach.
Yep.
Yeah,
but that's why I said use that to push towards demanding that we crack the ceiling with ownership. They ain't just gonna let us in right now.
I hear that.
Michael Jordan's the owner in the NBA. He ain't got a black coach.
You said
but he got a black president and GM.
Yeah, but well, okay.
Yeah, you ain't expecting to go all black, did you? Come on, Ed.
I forgot. Everybody buys tennis shoes. My bad.
That's right. Republicans too.
Hey, I know you already covered The Last Dance, but since we over here on a little segue, let me just shout out to Craig Hodges, the greatest Chicago Bull ever.
Man, I love Craig. I was mad he wasn't in there. Where was Craig?
Ooh, you causing stuff now. You causing stuff now. You causing stuff. Yeah. We're gonna keep that moving. We're gonna keep that moving. So I also like to give props to a lot of these athletes. As far as the NFL, the video that the NFL players put out to force Roger Goodell to make the statement that he made, I think is serving notice and showing athletes the power that they actually have to force changes in whatever situation. That now you've got college students confronting big-time college coaches, whether it's football, basketball, gymnastics. You've got basketball players confronting basketball players. I think now athletes are realizing that we are the product. We're going to use this platform and we're going to force people to do things that they don't want to do, that money-wise they're not inclined to do, but we're going to make them do it. And I'm just proud of them. And when you get Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, the faces of the NFL, to put themselves out there like that, I thought that was big.
Again, what Ed said earlier is on time for me with that. I'm like, where was Patrick Mahomes with Colin Kaepernick? Where was Odell Beckham with Colin Kaepernick? So I'm not going to call it big that they did the video until I see more actions. To Ed's point, I'm on Ed's camp.
And the question is, how long is it going to last?
I hear you. I won't disagree with y'all, but all I can say is you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere, and you can be like Jaylen Brown, get in your car, drive 18 hours to organize and march in your hometown to make sure you're part of it. I mean, yeah, everybody wasn't there 4 years ago, but they're standing up strong now.
And let me just be clear, Jaylen Brown got a long history. Shout out to Jaylen Brown and the Celtics. Got a long history of standing up for our people. Yeah, I think he went to Berkeley. I'm sure he went to college in California.
He went to Berkeley.
Yeah, so he's been out there. He's been out there. So just a shout out to that.
Cool. Anybody else got anything else to add on this subject? Johnny, you've been a little quiet.
Yeah, just kind of taking everything in, kind of reflecting and just wondering where it's going to go. I kind of feel like everybody else, enough has been said. Ed gave you the whole entire breakdown where Black lives were lost, sacrificed, where individuals protested 401 years ago, 155 years ago, 47 years ago. You see the George Floyd, you see the Ahmaud Arbery, and then my man 7 Foot Poet mentions owning our own businesses, owning our own sports entertainment. And that idea is very enlightening to me. You have several nationalities of foreigners and immigrants that come over to this country, realize things are not going to be fair for them. And they start operating within themselves and start networking within themselves to better set them off in a better situation. So we don't have to keep going to the main source for a handout. I like that idea. I would like to see a complete different football league, a completely different basketball league. What if our kids did go and play for HBCUs?
Yeah.
What if they started only signing with black-owned record labels and putting money out that way? What if the black community stopped letting money go in and out their community in less than a day, when for the average nationalities is there for 4, 5, 6, 7 days just circulating? Everybody can touch the money. The shopping center, the grocery store, the bank. Then it works its way down to the local market and this, that, and the third. And they continue to build each other up. I'm tired of dealing with the regular. I'm done with it. I personally, I feel done with it. And I would just like us to uprise and stop thinking we can't do great, because we are. We don't. This whole entire country is not only built on our backs, hand brick by brick, but then the money you make, the entertainment draw from not just our acting, our hooping, our playing football, just our natural nature is so magnetic that it draws everybody to us. So I'm tired of being pimped, personally.
Good point.
Peace, Johnny.
I think we can leave. I think we can leave that there. I appreciate that, Johnny. So, transitioning, and there's no easy way to transition. So let's just get into why we're usually here. What's going on with sports? But one more thing before we go there, though. You mentioned something, HBCU. I don't know if you guys saw an article last week. There is one of the top 5 players in the country is stated that he is going to highly consider going to an HBCU next year. He think he makes a decision either in the fall or early spring. He's supposed to be a one and done. They're already saying he's going to be a lottery pick. Do you think that would really have a big impact if just one did it? Or do we have to have a bunch of athletes make the decision to go to a HBCU, maybe as a group, because most of them play on AAU teams together. They travel the country together. Thank you, Johnny. Mikey Williams. What if we got a group, 2 or 3 of them, to go decide they were going to go to one school, play for a year, and try to win the NCAA tournament?
That's what we need.
It only takes one to get the ball rolling, and I would argue that desegregation of colleges was one of the worst things that could happen to the black community, and that's for another day, another time. But as far as the athletes and the power that they have, I would welcome that a return to HBCUs.
It would be good. It would be,
like you said, they play on AAU teams together. These kids are actually spending a lot more time together than we think. They're talking amongst one another. Who knows? Especially with this being such a global impact. I've seen monks protesting. Who knows? This may push these individuals to do something amazing over the next 4 or 5 years. I'm looking forward to it.
But we're overlooking the G League, y'all. You know, we talked about the G League and the possibilities that they can utilize going that avenue. So yeah, you may have one individual or even maybe 2 individuals go to HBCUs. But when you got an individual who really doesn't do well in school, but all he thinks about is basketball, and he wants to make money and get into the league, that's going to be the avenue they're going to take.
I think with the popularity with the HBCUs, with most kids going to these 5-star elite schools, I think it would quite possibly can take on its own nature. Everything is very social now. So if Mikey Williams goes and he's constantly Facebook Live and Instagramming, and he makes it appealing to the other kids, I think it has the possibility of catching on. These kids are very fad-like. The minute Lil Wayne wears an outfit, the whole entire world wears that outfit the next day. I
agree, man. I would not discount any step that any of our people take in the right direction. And it's kind of false to say it has to be one person or 10 or whatever, a group. You know, and one person mattered. It was one boxer who said, "I ain't going to the Vietnam War." It wasn't a whole bunch of boxers. It was just one boxer. So I mean, we can start with one, start with what we got. If we got 10, it's great. If we got Mikey Williams, great. We just making those steps forward. Obviously, it's a good time for Mikey Williams, politically wise, because it'd be less likely to catch blowback. I don't know how good the kid is, and he got to make it to the league with his one and done, and or make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. That both of those things would help open the floodgates further for him. You know.
Yeah, and if I can, I'm gonna get on my HBCU soapbox. What I'm tired of is for everybody thinking that all these schools, and I'm not even going to name them, are so phenomenal. I tell people all the time, put me in a room with some of your best from all these colleges, and I'll run circles around them. We have phenomenal schools in our own right. So we need to start promoting the academics. We need to start promoting the sports. We need to start promoting the culture. We need to start letting people know that we have a level of pride that can give your kids exactly what you think they need. And we need to change the narrative that we got to constantly send our kids to these other schools thinking that they're going to get a much better education than some of our HBCUs. So if you really want to turn things around, let's start doing it right now.
I hear you, Professor Jay. Somebody just said that, they think he get many scholarships. As soon as Mikey Williams said that it was a legitimate opportunity, he had 10 scholarships from HBCUs the next day.
Mm-hmm.
No question.
So,
yeah.
I hope it happens. I hope it happens. Look forward to it. And that brings us to the other sports. NBA. Looks like they're trying to kick it off July 31st. You got the bubble coming to Orlando. Wide world of sports. Major League Baseball, they arguing about money, don't look like they want to play.
Right.
I mean, it got called it like it is. The owners say we losing money. The players saying that's your fault. I mean, for real. NHL comes back next month. So, I mean, I know what J3's going to say. So we're going to eliminate him for the first comment. Do y'all think it's a good idea for these leagues to proceed further, trying to reopen or establish these sports leagues, considering that 50% of the states in this country have a escalating situation with the pandemic? There is no cure. Nothing's changed, but everything is opening up. It just doesn't make sense to me, but that's just me.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Of course it makes sense to you. It's all about the money. They're trying to make money, plain and simple.
Me too.
There was a college coach that got in a little bit of trouble around this COVID-19. I think he was a football coach in Oklahoma somewhere, maybe, but it was Midwest for sure. And he said something like, it's time for these football players to get back on campus or whatever to do the workouts so that they could get the football season going because it made so much money for the school. Mm-hmm. He was just being blunt and honest, and he didn't care if they caught coronavirus or not, if they died or not. For him, it was about the money, that his salary and the money the school was making. And it was a cold, callous view of, basically, of capitalism and the way that they view our people as commodity when it comes to athletes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, we've talked about that a couple of times on the show already, especially as far as college-wise. You got people that are still classified as non-professionals, but now every conference in the country is saying how vital football is to the schools, and that universities will go under without the football for non-professional athletes to save schools. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I thought, Johnny, I thought I remember, Johnny, you saying that these guys should be able to come back at least on a professional level.
On a professional level, I'm with it. If you're willing to get the test, if they spend the money to make sure everybody is tested, similar to, I don't want to touch on it because I know we will, the Dana White situation. If you're able to create a bubble, get an island, you got a 10-mile radius,
Straight
you can
pimping.
test everybody coming in, and that adult is okay with him running the risk of catching corona or not, then it's on him. People are already making that decision. You got people walking around without masks, not socially distancing. I'm not about to be tougher on the athlete. I know there's pressure on the owners, but I don't particularly think it's fair. I see a lot of other people overstepping lines. I see quite a few businesses still operating. As long as you can go to the liquor store, you can play football. It's ridiculous. Cognac is essential. Like, come on, man. You get out of here.
Woo, you spitting fire tonight, Johnny.
Good point.
Come on, Ed. I know you got something to say. I can see it on your face.
Burn.
My position hasn't changed. I don't think they should be reopening right now. Like you said, Big Reg, nothing's changed. No vaccine, no cure. And even some of the formats. Well, I think the NBA and the NHL got it. Well, the NHL I think got it completely right. The NBA I don't think has it right. I don't see the necessary them play-in games or that little 8-game abbreviated season, then the playoffs. I don't think that's necessary. MLB, I think the players have it right. I don't think they should budge on what they've already agreed to. So I don't think anything should be opening up. But what Johnny alluded to, I've been out and about the past 2 weekends, and I think I'm the only one who had a mask on, except at the Black Lives Matter rally. So in DC. So other than that, people are, nobody's wearing masks. I'm sure I haven't been at the liquor store, but I'm sure I've been at the grocery store, and they force you to put a mask on before you go in there. But yeah, it's unnecessary. It's going to be. Look, everybody get ready for the second wave because it's coming.
I hear you. That NBA, the 8-game play-in for the NBA, all that's is for the 22 teams that are coming back to the bubble, so they can meet the minimum required for the local TV markets, so they can get that local TV money. That's just a local TV grab.
Ooh, wow.
Them Benjamins.
Go get that money.
Yeah, they're not gonna let hundreds of millions go easy.
Absolutely.
So I mean, Ed and Joe, like, let's not start it. Johnny, I hear you. If you want to play, but would you be willing to go and leave your family for 6 to 8 weeks to be in a bubble?
If I had the type of money that I needed to keep myself mentally, literally, and financially secure, then I probably wouldn't. But if we're broke, I'm out there.
Makes sense. It makes sense.
It's very simple. Most people saying stay at home got stay at home money, or they get paid to stay at home.
Mm-hmm.
Most people who say I need to go out here, I need to keep my business open, is because they're in a situation there they need to keep the business open to keep making money. The government didn't. If they had set aside a way to stop rent, stop mortgages, stop all major payments, you ain't had to pay your cell phone bill, then shut down everything while giving out an allotment of food. Something the government would do if they really cared about the citizens of the nation. That's the type of stuff I could respect. But since they didn't do that, and people are still scrambling around, and they're still trying to get things done, they got to go to work.
I hear you.
We might have had that if we'd had leadership in the office. I mean, right now.
Okay.
But hold on, but Johnny, what kills me?
What I was going to say is that you have these mayors that are trying to step up to the plate and try to ensure that they're looking out for the individuals that are in their area. It takes local leaders to make a difference. Everyone thinks it comes from the top, but it doesn't. It comes from within. You have to have individuals who are willing to lead you in the right direction.
And then at this point, the question is getting old. A lot of your cities and states getting ready to roll into phase 2. Outside is getting ready to be open.
Yep.
To a degree.
Yep. Even though the numbers are still going up.
Hey, Johnny.
I agree with you. I'm the individual where if I had the money, I'd stay home. But if I need to go get it, I'm out here. Yes, sir, Eddie.
We not when we talking about opening up and should these people go back to work, we're not talking about regular folk. We talking about the NBA. I think their average salary per is $8 million. The MLB is $4 million, and the NFL is $3 million. So they ain't got nothing in the bank.
And you're talking.
Some of them don't.
For these
some of them don't.
For these athletes, I was just about to say. In fact, Steven Jackson, the guy that does the show with him, I forget the podcast name. He said the first 5, 6, 7 years of the league, he was broke by the summer. Yes, we're talking about NBA athletes, Major League Baseball athletes, NFL athletes, but you're also talking about an average age of like 23.
And why is that?
Nothing to do with the money.
And why is that? Because they were never taught financial literacy.
They probably were. Some of them were taught, but they're just dumb and young. My parents made sure I properly understood how to save my money. Do you think that mean I didn't blow my first paycheck when I was 19? Of course I did.
Hey, Johnny, it's he and Matt Barnes. It's called
Matt Barnes. Matt Barnes said for the first 5, 6, 7 years of when he was playing in the NBA, by the summer he was broke. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of them will tell you they struggled with that when they were younger on. A lot of them do. So it's bad money management. And I'm not placing greater responsibility on the individual who catches a great overhead pass than me. He played ball.
I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. You got anything to add, 7-Foot Poet?
The question is why and how are NBA players parted from their money, that's a whole show in and of itself. Okay, that's a topic show in and of itself. I appreciate Johnny not putting any more pressure on them than he would put on himself. And when you're dealing with that much money, the part that I think is underreported is when a white agent or financial advisor exploits a black athlete.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly overreported. It's clearly overreported when a black agent does something bad or a black financial advisor does something to
Oh, yeah, Master P.
But it's way underreported when it's the other way. You know, I think there was a report that it was a bank, and I'm not sure which one of them it was, but a former NFL player recorded the person at the bank trying to give financial advice, and basically they were discriminating against him, I think, or something. But when you go with these money, when you go into the place you're taking your money to discriminates against black people. That's the shortest way to say it in the sense of the banking system. You go into these top banking systems with your check of more money than you ever seen in your life, and you want to buy an annuity, a derivative. What you want to buy? They got all kind of stuff to sell you. Which tranche of money you want to get paid from? And they don't, they just don't have the education around it. It's a good thing we have the NCAA who provides our student athletes with a sound education. NCAA.
Oh man,
oh, you funny.
That's funny. That is
funny.
Yeah, it's tough though, man, because it's hard when you do. I mean, there was a funny quote by Patrick Ewing one time: "We make a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money."
Spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
And on some level, it's tough. It's true. It's hard to kind of fathom with the numbers. Of course, let me go back. Shout out to my man, Westside, Marshawn Lynch. They say he saved every penny, every penny of his salary. Even Floyd Mayweather, he got his issues, but he definitely got his money in the bank. At least he saved a lot of it. I know he spends a lot of it stupidly as well. So I mean, it's always hard. Say what, Professor J?
on Skittles.
Ed, but I want to ask you, Ed, the same question. If you're put into that, say you're an athlete and you're put in that situation, you just got married or something like that, got kids, you ran through your money, and you really need some cash.
That can't happen to me.
Okay, I can respect it.
Because I'm cheap. Anybody that knows me will tell you. They would. I can give you a list of numbers to call, and they'll tell you.
You're not cheap. You're frugal. You're frugal.
I got a cupboard full of beans and rice.
Ed said he looked at the dollar menu in disgust.
But I didn't mean to cut you off, Johnny. What were you trying to say?
No, you answered it. I believe you.
Oh.
You've mentioned that on several occasions. You rather being in your pocket than being spent. So I believe. You.
All right, all right. Well, now we can hit some other things that caught our eye. Somebody brought up Mr. Dana White. Over the weekend, Mr. White put on another fabulous show, UFC 250. For y'all MMA fans and for everyone who's not, y'all missed a good one. You had two different fights that had magnificent, outrageous one-punch knockouts by Cody Garbrandt and Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Sugar Sean.
And then you had the GOAT of women MMA, Miss Amanda Nunes, totally dominate another fighter to retain and become the first person, male or female, ever to defend two different belts in two different weight classes at the same time. And then today he announced that Fight Island is a reality. They're going to Abu Dhabi. They've got a 10-mile section set up specifically for them. And in July, they're going to have 4 fights live from Abu Dhabi, including UFC 251 in the 2-week span time. So Dana on his grind.
That's right.
Love him or hate him, he's making that paper. Boxing comes back tonight too.
I told y'all. I told you 2 months ago.
You did. You called it. You definitely called it.
For you regular fight fans, the return of boxing in the U.S. starts tonight. Tonight on ESPN, Top Rank Boxing is back, and the main event is Shakur Stevenson versus Felix Carballo in a championship fight at 1:30, I believe it is. But even boxing's having issues starting to come back. One of the co-main events was supposed to be a young lady, Michaela Meyer, who ended up testing positive when she showed up in Vegas. So this is going to be something that all the sports are going to have to deal with. College football has had a number of multiple players who showed up for football practices, test positive. So, I mean, it just goes on and on. And last but not least, for y'all folks that don't have anything to watch, please check out ESPN's 30 for 30 series. They've got a bunch of nice different things out there. They just had B. Water on this past Sunday, which was about Bruce Lee. 2 weeks ago, they had the Lance Armstrong pick. But if you have access to ESPN Plus, you can catch all of those. So it's time for our final post, fellas, so we can get up out of here for the evening. Let's start with Professor J. What you got for us this evening, partner?
Well, as we get on up out of here, I just want people to continue to look out for one another, pray for one another, stop the senseless violence, stop the looting, just pay attention to the fact that change is needed and we need to be at the forefront of change. So enough of the lip service. Start doing things that matter. Start teaching your kids. If you don't have kids, mentor a kid. Make sure we're producing exactly what we want for the next generation and the generations beyond that. So any movement that we can start, if we can plant those seeds, I'll be right behind it. But let's get started doing something positive.
All right, all right. J3, what you got for us?
So for all of y'all who know me, one of my favorite sports is bowling. And this past Saturday, I watched the PBA Strike Derby. And shout out to Chris Prather. And y'all laughing, but man, that's a fun sport.
I know,
Everybody talk about golf, but you get on them lanes and let me see what you can do. So I just want to say shout out to Chris Prather for winning the Strike Derby.
I hear you. Johnny, what you got for us?
I want to co-sign J3. I went bowling with J3. He left me in the dust.
That's him.
Every time he drives by my house now, I throw rocks. He hasn't picked up that treat others like you want to be treated. Let's stay together. Love on one another. And I do want to send a shout out to J3. I believe he has a mentorship, not J3, Professor J. I think he has the mentorship and leadership conference or whatnot that you're meeting over the weekend. Aren't you, Professor J?
That's true. I appreciate you, brother. Bless you.
Yes, sir.
Ed, what you got for me?
Plug it.
A couple things. First of all, 7 Foot Poet, I appreciate you being on. I'm glad to finally be able to meet you. Heard a lot about you. Also, that 30 for 30 for Lance Armstrong. If anyone gets a chance to look at it, it really gave me some insight on how the images of people that you idolize or look up to as far as sports figures, and then the reality as far as behind the scenes and how they actually are. I think it really give you a chance to really think. Mm-hmm. Finally, I asked everybody to push away from social media for a little bit, push away from the TV, the radio, etc., and read. Really open up a book and read. It doesn't matter what you choose, but I would encourage everyone to at least read for 30 to 60 minutes a day minimum. That's all I have.
All right, Professor J, before we move on, let us know about your leadership conference that you're doing.
Well, I thank you so much. So, as you guys know, I am a public speaker, an educator, a mentor, and I'm doing a youth workshop for the next 6 weeks that begins this Saturday. We'll be using John Maxwell's Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn for teens. It's for teens and preteens ages 12 to 18 years old. I'm getting a great response from it. The class is filling up. I had to order more books today. I'm going to be showing these young people how to be true leaders of today and then be able to carry that forward so that when I'm talking about a movement, this is where it starts. Educate the young minds. Thank you.
Amen.
Cool.
Amen.
7 Foot Poet, what you got for us?
Well, first off, never go up against J3 and bowl. That's a good life.
No Wii. Can't even beat him on Wii.
Can't even beat him on Wii. That's the first thing. Professor J was holding up books, so let me go ahead and give a shout out to 2. One book I highly recommend, Falsification of African Consciousness by Amos Wilson. Falsification of African Consciousness by Amos Wilson. And then, because y'all know Post is global, baby. Internet's global. Shout out to all the black people in the UK who's listening to Position on Sports. Check out a book called When We Rule by Robin Walker. When We Rule by Robin Walker. And for my final post, I just want to say, before I get to my final post, I just want to say, of course, I have deep appreciation and gratitude to all of the hosts on Positions on Sports for allowing me to be part of this show. And my final post is to say that It comes from Big Reg. He mentioned to me, he said, they say sports is supposed to be an escape. And it's very important that I would say the they is a hidden figure. But, don't fall for the they. We need to consider on our own what we want to have as an escape or not. And the question is, why do you need an escape in a society? Society, the reason you need an escape is because it's an oppressive society. And if you don't want to talk about race in sports, then stop putting race. I mean, it's impossible to separate the two. The owners are always aware of race in sports. It's not an escape for them. They don't say, "Let me leave my racism at home because it's a football game on." They don't say, "Let me not oppress black people because a basketball game is on." MLB baseball, they're not like, "Let's share this money because racism don't apply here." So, I don't even go into that notion of sports as an escape. And that's it. I appreciate y'all for having me. Hope I ain't say nothing to get me kicked off the show. Big Red, you can holler at me. One love.
You get to go on vacation. Hey, 7-foot poet. If you say something you're not supposed to say, you get to go on vacation for a couple weeks.
I'd like to thank all you brothers for actually coming, speaking your truth. I mean, we bring it to you straight every week when we're talking about sports. But today, to speak your truth about what's going on in this country and this world, I really appreciate it. To 7-foot poet, thank you. When we first started this show, I told you guys there were some people behind me that's been pushing me to do something like that. That man right there has been one of the main agitators, promoters, and backers for me to do this. And for 10 years, he's been saying, you need to start doing the show. So I'll never forget you, partner, and I appreciate you.
Thanks, man. One love, man. One love.
And last but not least, everybody, please stay safe. Please remember that nothing's changed. We're still in a pandemic. Be careful. If you're going to protest, be as careful as you possibly can. Stay safe. Watch out for yourself. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, for all you guys out there that have been to protests, keep an eye on yourself. Because if you get sick, make sure you take care of yourself. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate your time, the opportunity to share our positions on sports. Please tune in next Tuesday, 7 p.m. for another live show. You can also download the show and previous shows via Facebook and our YouTube channel, Positions on Sports Talk Show. When you visit, not only please subscribe, and if you could please share our show with your friends, family members, and social media contacts. We greatly appreciate it. It's been our honor and privilege to bring you our positions on sports. We appreciate your time. Thank you, and peace. See you next week.
West Coast is the best coast, baby. West Coast.
East Side.
West Coast, baby.
And we're done.